This is Eric,
Maritess, Sydney, Sam,
Neal,
and Laura. Welcome to med-surg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
This podcast is an engaging look at the lives of and surrounding medical surgical nurses.
We're proud med-surg nurses just like you, sharing our stories, insights, and experiences to support you in your nursing journey.
Our topic today is how to advance your nursing career, and we are pleased to welcome back a very special guest co-host, AMSN President Marisa Streelman. Marisa, welcome back to med-surg Moments.
Thank you, Maritess. It's great to be back with you and being on our podcast with our new co-host. So thank you for having me.
As always, before we get started, let's begin with some personal updates, and a perfect starting point would be our special guest co-host. Marisa, what's new with you and what's new at AMSN?
So personally, it has been a busy few months since I've been here. So I think it was back in November, and we had a busy holiday season. But most recently, just this last weekend, I have twins and they just turned 8 years old. So we had a fun birthday party weekend. And what you might not know about me is I love to bake their birthday cakes. So one of them had a Minecraft creeper birthday cake, and the other one had a space unicorn cake. So very fun cakes. And we went to this fun trampoline park for their birthday, and a lot of kids and a lot of balloons and fun things going on there, but very busy. My work life, I have a new chief nurse executive at my job. So if any of you have been through a chief nurse executive change, we're excited for the new changes that'll be coming this year, but also you have to learn a new leadership style. So let's talk about AMSN. I'll put my president hat on. So our priorities looking into 2024, and I'll give you a few updates on a few of the things we're working on right now. We're working on our chapters, and we've been meeting quarterly with our chapter presidents, meeting with them to see what they need and how we can support them on the national level. And looking forward to continuing to meet with them, talking about what we can do for them educationally as well as technically. Like some people are just like, we want a Facebook page, we want an email address, very simple things that we can put in place for them. And then on a larger scale, maybe looking at regional conferences or something down the line. So really fun stuff, working with our chapters to kind of get more involvement on that level. We're gearing up for convention in Toronto. Get your passport ready. Our speaker confirmations, I think, just went out for those people who submitted abstracts. So we had a lot of abstracts this year, a lot of people to choose from. So we have a really great lineup for speakers. And we just put out our call for poster abstracts. And that is now open through April 15th. So please, if you have a poster abstract, get that in. We're looking forward to having more posters this year in Toronto. More to come on that. So you'll see more social media and stuff coming up on the convention as we move along. And then we have a new area online for our med-surg content. So this will be new coming up for us. It's called The Monitor, and it's going to be coming out in April. So that's coming right up. And this is an area to house our articles, our blogs, and other information for our med-surg nurses. And this is going to be a dynamic environment for our online content. As you may or may not know, we cut ties with our previous journal. And so we're revamping and revising our peer-reviewed journal. And that takes a long time to get a new journal up and running. So it'll be another year before we really get that up and out to our AMSN members. In the meantime, though, we are supplementing that with our online content. And it'll be called The Monitor, and it's coming out this April. So we're super excited to be able to have that as a space for our members to be able to get articles. And we'll be also looking for articles. So if you have articles ready to go that you'll want to submit to us and our teams, we'll be looking for that information too. And the last one is virtual nursing. I know we've talked a lot about virtual nursing. I know our med-surg certification board is working strongly on getting a certification up and running for virtual nursing. They're actually beta testing right now, and they did a call out for beta testers, and they're still looking for a few more beta testers for the cavern exam. And if you do beta testing, you do get a slight discount. So that's kind of nice. And then you are one of the first people to get the credential. So if you do have experience in virtual care nursing, they're looking for beta testers. And so we should, once that is finished and complete, have the certification ready to go in the fall.
One question that I have is about the chapters. Is there a section on the website that tells us where we have chapters and how to get in touch with the leaders of those chapters?
There is a section on the website for chapters. We took out some of the contact information due to confidentiality reasons because people had their personal emails in there. So we wanted to bring that back to the staff level. So there is a contact information. So if you contact AMSN staff, they will be able to get in touch with the local chapters for you. We don't have them all over. There's chapters that are very organized and very open and very active. And then there's some chapters that aren't as active. The Chicago chapter is very active. And they have a very active president, but she's been president for a very long time, Cora Palmer. But then you have certain chapters that are trying to stay alive. So those are the ones we're trying to support and trying to figure out how we can help them on the national level to keep their membership up and help them figure out what they need in order to engage their members at the local level as well. One of the other things I didn't mention, but with the chapters we are working on is like a toolkit. So if Laura, if you decided, hey, I don't see a chapter in my area, but I would like to start a chapter in my area. So now I'll have a toolkit, which will help me walk through all the steps of starting up a chapter.
That's wonderful. You actually read my mind. I would like to get involved with the local chapter. And if there's not one, I would be excited to try to partner with other nurses in my area to start one. And I think Cora is going to be a guest on a future podcast that's probably coming up soon. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's great. I love Cora. She is a fabulous med-surg nurse and med-surg nurse advocate. I was a founding member of the Chicago chapter when I lived there. And I'm actually going to be in Chicago during Med-Surg Nurses Week and speaking with the chapter. It'll be fun.
That's exciting.
There's always a lot going on with AMSN, but I'll stop there and I will send it over to Sydney to see what's going on with her.
Marisa, thanks for sharing all that information. For me personally, still working on Spanish. This week, I'm going to a spa with some friends, so that's exciting. They have the Moroccan-style bathhouses here, so hot pools, cold pools, warm pools. So we're going to go check those out tomorrow. But other than that, just work. And what about you, Eric? What's going on with you?
Hey, Sydney, thanks. First, I'd like to say hello to Marisa. It's so wonderful to meet you. For me, I'm still working on the injury. My life has consisted of a 3-foot by 3-foot reach. I'm just kind of stuck on my couch with my leg halfway up to heaven. And whatever's within my arms is what I can reach with. So for the past 2 months, I've kind of been really frustrated. I am a worker bee. Like, I really do love my job. Being away from it, I'm like, what now? What do I do? So I've kind of taken this time to step back and to look at other things and to see how I can grow personally, mentally, physically in respect to my work. When I first came on here, everyone's so advanced. And I think about it and I think to myself, do I want to advance my degree because I see other people doing it? Or is it something that I feel like I need? Personally, I love bedside nursing, so I'm kind of torn. I've been happily complacent with my ADN for the last 5 years. So I've been taking this last time to kind of just look at advancing it and seeing about growing up. I think my biggest fear has been when I see people advance their degree, they leave the bedside. I don't want to leave the bedside. I'm happy. I don't have any complaints about it. Yes, we're overworked, understaffed, but I genuinely have nothing but love for my job and I don't want to leave it.
I totally understand that sort of nurse guilt of feeling like you need to be doing more. I feel like a lot of nurses are very type A, and I just went through the same thing recently. I was planning on starting my master's in nurse education. I was going to, and then with the military, I was having difficulty getting funding. And I was like, I'm not going back to school and paying for it. I already paid for that undergrad. I will wait until it will be paid for. So I was having some difficulty getting the funding and sort of decided, why do I need this right now? And I sort of talked to myself and talked to some friends and family and was like, I don't need this right now. I'm enjoying working the bedside and I don't need a master's right now. There's no rush for me to be doing that. I can focus on enjoying things, improving my unit in other ways than a degree that I don't necessarily need to stress myself out for because I feel like I need to.
Erin, maybe you need to write for our new monitor. Maybe you need to write blog posts for us. That's what you should be
do
doing.
that from this 3-foot space.
That's right. You can do that from your space, right? And send those in to us. We'd love that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was writing down feverishly as you were speaking because I said, oh, okay, I'm going to start a chapter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do chapter. I'm going to do this. And I thought I just get whatever I can from my little corner of the world to get out there.
Yeah, and that's beneficial because I guarantee you that you are not the only person that feels that way.
Thank you. Enough about me. Sam, what's going on with you?
Well, here I am again, still pregnant. So that's continues to be my update. I think the last time we were all together, I was talking about how my husband was harping on me to get my bag packed, even though it was still like at least 2 months away. But now we're about less than 2 weeks away. So my bag has been packed. It's not in the car yet. But my favorite part, too, is that he has not even started to pack his bag. So at least one of us is going to be prepared for when the time is here. Trying to wrap up all of my projects. My coworkers have been so kind to me to not try to ask me to do anything new, which is very gracious of them. Just trying to get things wrapped up and make sure everything's going to be covered while I'm out for a little bit. So very appreciative of that. And then a fleeting thought I thought I was going to share is that next year I will have to recertify for my CMSRN. And so I was like, oh man, I better start thinking about all these contact hours that I need to get organized and make sure are ready to go for when the time is here, which is actually about a year from now. So if you also needed that reminder that recert is coming up for you, this is your sign to also look at your contact hours and start getting those organized. But I think that's about it for me. Neal, what have you been up to? We missed you last time.
First of all, welcome new co-hosts. Great to see some new faces. And Marisa, great to see you back. It's my birthday month. Just celebrated my big 5-0. Professionally, yes, I have to start doing my research for my license, let alone my certification. And so yeah, that's always a daunting task. And my ACLS is coming up. So it's like taking this vacation birthday break to then have to grind. But I am on my 50 Fabulous World Tour. So I started down in North Carolina. I drove up through the DC, Virginia area, stopped and saw some family friends. I spent a few days in Brooklyn with my mom and we went out for dinner my birthday night. My brother-in-law is a chef and catered a delicious, typical Italian spaghetti and meatballs and sausage dinner Saturday night. And
Yum.
Sunday, yeah, I'm lucky to have my dad's DNA of being tall, Dutch, and English and thin, while everyone on the Italian side is the Tony Soprano build. So last night, I reunited with an old nursing friend of mine where we knew each other. We worked in a group home together. He was a nurse. I wasn't a nurse yet. And he's a manager on a radiology unit. So we were kind of catching up and having a good dinner. And today I made my way to Niagara Falls. And then I jumped the border in Toronto here. Yes. So this is kind of international since Sydney's over in Spain. Tomorrow sometime I'll start heading back down to great old North Carolina. So school just started back. Eric, my plan is when I graduate in 3 more semesters, which is like 7-week online program, I'm going to stay bedside and just dabble, tiptoe into the education world. Do I want to do clinical, which I've done before? Do I want to do classroom? Do I want to do sim lab? That's always a fun one. And that's the beauty of the backup degree. So I admitted I'm 50, like I'm going to go until this body tells me you can't do this anymore. I want that to be my fun side job. I want it to be cool, like sim lab and just sit there and work the dummies. Or if I'm at my hospital and the right school gives the right offer, do clinical. Sydney, you two talking about doing it. Yeah, don't force yourself, but there's a point where you're like, I'll never abandon the bedside. And Sydney, kudos for you for being in the military. Thank you for your service. And the best leaders are ones that have been in the trenches with their nurses. So yeah, it does pay to stay in the trenches as long as you can. I really do like being a leader. And even one of my old managers says, you do great at being a leader. You're not always good at being a boss. And I'm okay with that. I like being a leader, not a boss. Other than that, enjoying the road trip, reflecting on the last 50 years. And the best thing I've done in those past 50 years is become a nurse. Laura, what you been up to?
I'm so excited to hear your story about your road trip because I also took a road trip when I turned 50. I took a trip by myself to another part of the country. It was amazing.
I call this my Me, Myself, and I Fabulous 50 road trip.
Yeah. And when I journaled it, I said 50 and determined to be fabulous. That was great. That trip was very memorable. I spent a lot of time by myself. I found I enjoy my own company, but I also realized I like people and I need to talk to people sometimes. But it was good. It was good. Solo trips are wonderful. So happy birthday. I'm glad that you're having that wonderful experience. For me, I think the last time I updated that I started my doctorate. I am now one class down. It ended. It was a great, great experience. I loved it. And I am taking a little bit of a break. And that is only to maximize my tuition reimbursement. So I am not in any hurry to finish this degree. I'm going to take small steps. I'm going to take a class periodically along the way. And it might take me 3 years. It might take me 4 years to get this degree, but I'm excited to take these tiny steps. Outside of that, everything else is good. My kids are good. My family is good. The weather here in Texas is just beautiful right now. So we spent a lot of time outside in nature this weekend, took the dogs for a walk and just enjoyed the sunshine. Maritess, what's going on with you?
We went to that family trip. So we went to the Philippines and we went to Japan. My youngest, he met a lot of family members, and this is what he's been telling everybody. I want a baby brother. I want a baby brother. I'm like, no way.
The factory is closed.
Yeah, the store is
no
closed.
More babies.
No more. But I wanted to share, it was a great trip. Japan, it's amazing. I feel like I'm in 2050. I see a lot of robots around. I see a lot of machines. We went to all the different shrines. It was very spiritual. My biggest takeaway is that life is simple. We just need to make everything simple, not complicated at all, and be kind. They spoke English in a lot of the places that we went to, because we went to Tokyo and we went to Disneyland. Not that I don't live in Florida. Mickey and Minnie, they speak Japanese. So that was the biggest change. But the tickets were so very inexpensive. And I'm like, wow, I can go here every day. Professional update, I have a new CNO. So a lot of change in leadership. It's a lot of building those relationships again, finding how to communicate, what's the leadership style. But I think it's very exciting because they have a lot of great new ideas.
I agree with you. It is exciting, but at the same time, the relationships. Someone comes in that maybe got promoted to a position that you know, but you've never worked so closely with them before. You're just learning all new styles.
I do agree. And I keep on telling my team, because I work with a group of educators, and they were like, is it going to change? Is the policies going to change? I said, we don't know. We have best practices in our organization. So hang in there and just go with the flow and everything will flow smoothly. Why don't we move on to our topic? Today's topic is how to advance your nursing career. And I think we kind of started on that. So I think this is really a great topic for all of us to discuss. I thought I'd share the reason why I submitted this topic. As a clinical educator, I always get this question all the time. How do I advance my career? Do I need to advance my degree? Do I need to do certifications? Why do I need to do all of these? I myself had the same dilemma. I finished my education journey, and then I asked myself, what am I going to do next? I only had a week break from my doctoral degree. After graduation, I'm like, why did I even get all these degrees? And then I got the certifications. What's next? And so it goes back to the purpose. When I finish a degree, it's not really getting the degree, getting a promotion, getting a new role. I just want to get things done. In our organization, they do tuition reimbursement. It was really a great benefit for all the employees. There's really nothing to lose. I always believe that if it's for free, you just need to put your effort and hard work. You just have to do it. There's so much that you can do. You can join the board. You can join committees. You can advance through certification. You can improve your unit. Why do I need to read all these articles in journals? For me, it's really getting all those evidence-based practices and giving it back to the units and letting them know, we need to update our policies on this. We need to do process improvement. There's so much. And that's the reason why I had this question in mind. How do I advance? What is the next step? Who else would like to jump in?
I think it's always too, you kind of got to think of your long game. I'm not military trained, but there's some mindset I pull from military experience of you have to have a long-term goal and a short-term goal, how to get there. There's the steps to get to that thing. My decision for education, of course, became very natural, having been a school teacher for 12, 13 years prior to jumping into nursing. That's what I want to do long-term. But before that, once again, if you've been a long-term listener, Tracy King, one of my managers, was like, Neal, if you're a med-surg nurse, become med-surg certified. Being at a new hospital now, after being at a previous hospital for 12, 13 years, I'm doing the extra stuff internally, doing a class for charge nurse, doing a preceptor class. And there's a class called a planer class to help write CE credits. And actually, I meant to mention into my Roses and Thorns, I had this amazing experience one day with an older retired nurse. And she was 80 years old, so she probably nursed for 40, 50 years. And she was telling me, and I'm going to talk some very harsh talk here, North Carolina is an at-work state. What a lot of at-work states don't know, and what they don't want you to know, is you have the right to create a federal union. You have to be private. You can't be a government-run organization, and you have to have 30% of your staff agree that you would want federal representation. So on my back burner right now, after my MSN and I start dabbling in it, is to start up a union. Now, your union will only represent the nurses at your hospitals, and it doesn't include CNAs or people without an actual license. If you do what you love, you don't work. And so finding what part of nursing that you love and do something for that to better it.
Yeah. As a manager, I was asked many times about how to advance your career without going back to school. So I was a younger manager. I was managing people who were twice my age, and they didn't want to go back to school. They had no interest in it. I worked at a few places that had a clinical ladder. So that was a way where you could look at advancing your career, but it was putting in the work internally to do that. You have to decide that that's something that interests you to do those precepting classes and things like that. In one unit, we set up a mentoring program, having our experienced nurses mentoring our new nurses that were coming in. And we had that set up for every new nurse. And that was a way to engage our experienced nurses and help our new nurses coming in. And then also get certified. That's how you engage in your specialty. One thing that I did, I was a night nurse for quite a few years, coming in, doing my nights, leaving. But one thing that really started to engage me was I started to get involved in a study that we were doing with the patient. And I started to realize how the work I was doing as part of the study was making a difference with patients and patient outcomes. I worked in oncology when I was a new nurse, and we were looking at offering around-the-clock medication versus keeping a PRN medication and the patient having to ask for the pain medication. So was the pain better controlled with around-the-clock offering of medication versus the patient having to ask for it? Now, this was a long time ago, many years ago, before what we know now. However, it was part of that study and really looking at that and then being part of that academic process, if you will, that kind of spurred me to be like, oh, we're making a difference with this work we're doing. And that really started lighting me to like, what else could I be doing? And also I was at a point where I was over the task work of a new nurse. And I was like holistically thinking more about patients, patient care, what's next, what's the next challenge? I needed that in order to say, what's next and how do I make a difference in nursing and as a nurse with outcomes and things like that. And then advancing your nursing career through education, that's a whole nother step. And I just talked with some nurses about this, some new leaders at my work, and they said, well, when is the best time to go back to school? And I'm like, there is no good time, Eric, to your point earlier, there's no good time to go back to school. And everybody's time is different, right? Everyone hits them differently when they decide to go back. I went back with my master's after I was nursing about, 8 years, 9 years. I went back for my master's. And then I waited till I had my twins, actually. My twins were little. They were just born. And I went back and got my DNP. I was working at Rush in Chicago at the time, and they paid for your DNP. you were working there and you went to school there. Maritess, to your point, I said, this is the opportunity to get my DNP now and then get it and have it. So you're taking the opportunities that are given to you as well. I have DNP support right now, or I have tuition support right now. Like Sydney, you said, I don't have tuition support right now. So this is not the right time for me. So you have to really play it all out on when it works best for everyone. But there is no perfect time. There's no perfect age your kids are. There's no perfect time. Make sure you have your support system in place for whatever responsibilities you have, and then do it. For me, it was a working mother of 3 kids. So I needed to make sure that was in place. I really had to ask questions though, like, what do you want from it? What is your goal? What's your objective? And if it's not going to school, then let's look around us to see what we can find. And that includes your organization, like AMSN. If that's not something you want to do outside of work, then what can we find within the walls of work?
Absolutely. I have 2 people that I have in my mind that were nurses there a long time at the facility that I worked at. And they didn't have any desire to go back to school. They didn't have any desire to advance their education, but they were informal leaders on that unit, and they had a lot of longevity at that unit at the bedside. And they said they don't want leadership. They don't want to be put in those positions. They really, really loved being at the bedside. And so those are the kinds of things that they did. Like you were talking about, Marisa, they definitely certified. They liked to precept. They liked to be on committees. They liked to do focus groups, things like that. But that's how they choose to advance their careers. And they were definitely seen as leaders. I know I always knew that I could go to them when I had questions. They were both ICU nurses. And so they were always my secret people that I would text when I had questions. So it doesn't look the same for everybody. And it's okay to change your mind.
There can be such cool opportunities for dual role jobs. Not every organization has those. We have some nurses who will spend 2 shifts a week in the float pool, but then 1 shift a week on the wound care team or something like that. So something where they're able to get something a little bit different, a little bit new, maybe a challenge, but they're still able to maintain that bedside stuff that they really love.
Dan, that's a great point about expanding your roles, doing one job one day and then another job another day a week. My facility is pretty unique where we have med-surg nurses, but we also have labor delivery nurses on the same ward. I think I talked about this in my first episode, but we do from newborns, we do deliveries all the way to true med-surg patients. Our merge happened a little over a year ago, so we're still trying to buff out the kinks of having those 2 different worlds on one unit. But one thing is my unit developed cross-training for the nurses. So the labor and delivery nurses are learning how to take care of those sick older patients, while the med-surg nurses are learning how to take care of newborns or participate in the labor. So learning a lot of acronyms I never heard of, a lot of positioning of people on balls that I've never done. I know how to turn people, but putting someone on a yoga ball is very different than my med-surg experience. But now I'm educated in that. Not that I want to be a labor and delivery nurse. I love med-surg, but I love my 80-year-olds. But going forward, when I get out of the military or if there's those opportunities open, I am more confident in my role to say, oh, I've worked postpartum or I've worked with newborns and I have experience in this. I can step up and be a leader in those different roles outside of my usual scope.
I always tell people you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Marisa, you had said something about there's never the right time. When your kids are 0 to 5, they won't remember you missed their first steps. We have cameras now. Everyone sees everything. So like do it then, because at 10, 11, 12, you miss their T-ball game, they do get upset.
I feel inspired now. From my point of view, it's more personal because I am a clinical ladder nurse. I want to see the growth in everyone and I want them to have what I wanted, but was too afraid to ask. But I think part of my issues personally is that I'm very humbled by someone saying thank you. And so sometimes my manager, she'll say, oh, everyone, here's Eric. Let's see, he's got his clinical ladder. And it puts me on the spot. And I feel so uncomfortable with someone saying, good job. So I think it puts me off on that. When I look at furthering my education, I think, yeah, I could do it just to do it. But that's not me personally. Like I have to want something to do it. It's not that I can't do it. It's just if I don't see the opportunities, then why would I? But hearing other people that have been there, like everyone here speaking, it kind of opens my eyes a little bit to the situation and said, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's something I would really be interested in. Tuition reimbursement would be wonderful. That would be a huge thing because I have looked at other schools. But dropping 40 or 60,000 right now is just so daunting. And then the $1,500 a year that my work would give me, it's like, geez, thanks for the parking permit. I just have to make it make sense to my life. Before nursing, I was in other schools, and I left with like 2 classes to go before I got my degree in other areas because I said, well, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm just not that kind of person. Being a new nurse, I used to say, oh, what are those letters after your name? And I would write them down because I'd be too shy to say, oh, what's a BCNRC? Or, you know what I mean? And I'd look it up and I'd get things that wouldn't make sense. Then I'd be like, well, they don't work in automotive. So I have to look at another way around it to find what are those letters? And it would drive me crazy. And then I finally started saying, what are you doing? You know, just go up and ask them. Say, hey, Marisa, what is that letter after your your name? That's actually how I learned about the CMSFP.
CMSRN.
I'll just move my lips and someone can say it.
Eric, the president is here.
I know.
I don't know it. Oh, he's off the team.
Yeah.
CMSRN.
Makes it sound so smooth.
It's part of my dyslexia. That's part of one of the reasons why I got certified. Someone said, hey, what about this? And I said, well, what is that? And then it led me down the path here. And next thing I know, I'm on the podcast. So it's a great opportunity that can lead to all these things.
We can get you on that blog. So let's go. We need some
You need an editor, right?
nursing content. So
This is called networking.
Yeah.
This is called networking.
Definitely.
Start the first AMSN TikTok, Eric, from the couch.
There you go.
From your couch, you can do it all, man. Sydney and Eric, you just spoke to it eloquently of having a hospital job to reimburse you to advance your degree. And Eric, you said something very deep there too. One of the first things my old manager kind of highly suggested and recommended for your advancing in your career is to get your career ladder. And the funny thing about career ladder, it's everything you do anyway. It's just putting in a nice little package and submitting it. And when she really presented that way, I was like, sign me up. And that's just the beginning. And it almost becomes addictive because you get a little badge thing at work and it will say like clinical ladder 3 and people will be like, ooh, what's that? What's that? And it's like, oh, well, it's that. And then you kind of get them to the next thing and the next thing. And it's just really, really good to have that little bit extra experience. And you know what? Honestly, I've had a few patients even say like, oh, wow, you're certified? What does that mean? I said, we take a test that kind of reinforces our knowledge base of what we know. And they do feel a little bit better in coming from a certified nurse. There is that reassurance. I mean, I would like to see it, just like you're a certified Ford technician who works on your car. That means they went through their process. So there's always just great opportunities. And we just said the magic word networking. You never know who every person is. Like I said, that nurse that told me about that union, I was like, I would have never thought of that in a million years. And it's just been bouncing in the back of my brain forever now. Eric, you kind of joked about the cost. I got accepted to Duke for my master's in nurse education. I was like, yes, Duke. Yeah, like $15,000 a semester. My hospital reimburses $1,500 a year. So I was like, yeah, they're not even paying for a book. So I'm good at UNC Wilmington. They'll pay me the same whether I go to Duke or UNC Wilmington. I hate to say it that way. It's that return of interest that you got to be like, this is doable for me. So sometimes, like Marisa had said, like, you don't want to do the school, so do the internal stuff and do the career ladder. I even forgot about that. That's a great thing, career ladder.
I think a lot of what this really comes down to is that it can just take one conversation with another nurse, whether you're an educator or a leader, a charge nurse or whoever, and it might just give somebody that spark and that springboard to really get their wheels turning about where they want to go. So never hesitate to talk about all these different things that we got going on.
There you go.
Yeah, and I agree. I know AMSN, we always call for committees, board membership. That's also a way for all of us to serve others and be out there. Nurses on Board Coalition, that's how I got into a lot of these board positions because I put in my profile, you reach out to them, and you give your consent to serve. Believe it or not, we're just about out of time. But before we go, let's quickly summarize what we've learned. Advanced degrees can open so many doors for you in your career. Find out what part of nursing you love the most and go in that direction. Be sure you're pursuing advanced degrees for the right reason, not just because everyone else is doing it. If you're not interested in an advanced degree, get certified and consider mentoring others. There is no perfect time to go back to school. It's different for everyone. Sometimes it's a time and place where you'll receive tuition support. Consider exploring a dual or cross-training role where you can split your time between two areas that interest you the most. Before we go, we'd like to once again thank AMSN President Marisa Streelman for joining us as a special guest co-host.
Thank you again, Maritess, and all the co-hosts. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I appreciate the conversation, and I love talking about careers, career advancement, and just love talking with all of you and our AMSN med-surg nursing community. So thank you.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of med-surg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
In the meantime, we encourage you to subscribe to med-surg Moments wherever you listen to podcasts.
To reach us, use hashtag med-surg Moments on your social posts.
Or send us an email at amsnpod@amsn.org. That's amsnpod@amsn.org.
We're all AMSN members, and if you love med-surg Moments, we invite you to become a member of AMSN. You can learn more at www.amsn.org.
Finally, the content within the med-surg Moments podcast represents the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-hosts and may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nurses.
Until next time, this is Eric,
Laura,
Maritess,
Neal,
Sam,
And Sydney. And always remember, med-surg Moments is a moment in our lives and a moment in our med-surg careers that makes a huge difference.